it encounters them and it dies for the bacteria. So one of the things, that's going to be the same no matter what. That process is going to occur whenever we have a breach. All right? Now, I'm sure you guys know that we are definitely affecting this process every time you use something that's antibacterial. Because our body itself, okay, on this lovely organ we know as the skin, has its own bacteria, the acids, everything to try to keep stuff out. But the antibacterial doesn't kill just the stuff out here, it's killing all this here.
Like fauna or something.
Yes, it's affecting that fauna, the organisms that are present. So, if we look at these white cells, okay, because at this point, we're dealing with the ones that we know as monocytes, okay? And if you remember, we had stuff such as the eosinophils, basophils, our neutrophils, okay? Because remember, when we have a breach, okay, we don't just simply have to fight off a bacteria. There are bacteria, there are viruses, there are allergens, there are different things that we have to fight off. So, if you remember, eosinophils, all right, once again, we're breaching ourselves, meaning skin, mucous membranes, to the outside world. Eosinophils will help fight a different type of pathogen. Doesn't mean we don't need them, it's just fighting a different type. So the eosinophils, the parasites, allergens, basophils, these are going to be, they're, like it says, once they get to the area of the breach, one of the things that needs to happen, the blood capillaries that are present, the blood capillaries need to become more permeable. This means that because a lot of the chemicals that are needed to not only fight the pathogens, but help with healing, forming clots so that people don't bleed out, all this sort of stuff is in blood. So we need to make sure that those capillaries that got breached can get more permeable to let more substances out. So they need to dilate at that area of the breach. So basophils can help do that. When we look at some areas of our body, we're going to find under the basophils, we're going to find something called mast cells. These are found very heavily in the wrappings of blood vessels. They're very rapid in their response to help with creating the dilation and getting materials to the area of the breach. They're also going to be very present in these mucous membranes that are like in the nose and the sinuses and everything. This is one of the things that will happen in an allergy attack, like, you know, the hay fever and that sort of thing. The mast cells are very active, making those capillaries very permeable with a lot of the fluid leaking out. We end up getting those allergy reactions, like the eyes running, nose running, that sort of thing. It's really kind of interesting. People cannot, well, I don't know about people, but animals. Like my dog, for example, who's a pug. I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with a little pug, okay? She actually has mast cell tumors. It's a cancer in the mast cells. Yeah, bless her heart. But, you know, that's something that is found in their breed. Lymphocytes. Lymphocytes. Different from the monos, okay? In that pluripotent stem cell in the bone marrow that's giving rise to red blood cells, white blood cells, the colony-forming units, okay? We have our colony-forming unit just for lymphocytes. So lymphocytes are going to be getting very specialized, which is immunity. That is immunity. So lymphocytes, 3 categories: natural killer, T cells, B cells. Ones that you're probably familiar with, the T cells, okay? B cells. Natural killer cells are very important, especially in times when cells of the body are trying to turn cancerous. Okay, they are very important in helping fight cancer cells. The monocytes, lymphocytes, these cells, we're going to have them form in the bone marrow, which means they're going to make their way to the bloodstream. They're going to have to move out of the bloodstream. So, and some of these cells, like for example, the T cells have to make their way to the thymus gland. Do you guys remember that? Okay. They have to be exposed to that hormone so that they can actually become a mature T cell. Okay. B cells, they're going to get formed at the level of the bone marrow. T cells are going to actually activate them. And some of the monocytes, the ones that might become a macrophage and become an antigen-presenting cell, they have moved out of the bloodstream into the tissues. So under these cells that we have for the white blood cells as a whole, okay, monocytes, lymphocytes, some of them are going to transform into that macrophage so that they can be the antigen-presenting cell. Some of them will just simply continue to wander around in the blood, in the tissues, and have a lifespan of about 7 to 10 days and be done. Some of them get fixed in place. The T cells, for example, macrophages that'll go sit in lymph nodes, okay? So these cells, all of them have jobs, but when we begin to create specificity is when we have officially activated the immune system. We can create something called antimicrobial proteins. Microbes, ever heard of that? Yes, no, maybe? Microbes, bacteria, that sort of thing? Okay. If they are anti-microbes, they want to make sure they inhibit them. And they're going to actually be a protein. Everybody remembers protein, right? Chain of amino acids, special structure, blah, blah, blah. They're very short term. They're not going to be anything that is long lasting. They are non-specific, meaning it doesn't matter what bacteria might be present or what virus might be present. They just want to go attack. And that's what they'll do. It doesn't have to be something specific like staphylococcus or anything like that. They just go fight it. They just go against it. So, antimicrobial proteins is a way that the body is going to work against fighting pathogens. Under the types that we have, interferons. Have you ever heard of those? No? Interferons, they're going to be, people can actually be deficient in some of these. And if they're like, if they find, say for example, if you go give blood and they find that you are very well in number with a particular interferon, they will want you to come give blood more, because they can actually give that to people who might be deficient in an interferon. Interferons really help in fighting these bacteria and viruses that we might get exposed to. And then we have our complement system. Not like, oh, I like your shirt, but C-O-M-P-L-E, okay? Now, your textbook is going to get very detailed about each of these. It's going to go through the different names and types that we have. I'm not going to ask you that, okay? I'm trying to keep it on a level where you have an idea, and if you need to get specific at some point, you can, okay? With an interferon, and people can get shocked, all these sort of things, okay? With an interferon, viruses. How does a virus work? As you go through your day and you touch doorknobs and handles on the sinks, and you touch the surfaces of stuff, and you pick stuff up, and as you go through your day, how do viruses exist? They're everywhere. Okay? Everywhere. When does it make you sick?
Yes, when it invades a certain cell.
When you give it a host. Viruses need a host. So, as you go through touching everything, and if you don't be concerned about making sure that you wash your hands and stuff, that means you're going to touch your eyes, you're going to touch your nose, you're going to eat food, okay? That virus that could get introduced now has a host. Viruses, when they get their host, they can either use the cells of the host. They can actually, on the cell, attach to it, secrete their DNA into the cell, and as that as that cell reproduces, it'll reproduce with viral DNA. Or, as they attach to the cell, they can actually move into the cell and form new viruses. And when the cell bursts, all the new viruses come out and go attack other cells. So either way, a virus has now attacked the host cell. For the most part, can we treat viruses? No. We don't have a cure for the common cold yet.